Hi, welcome to TorontoTv. Today we have running a new program called Education Insight. I'm the host of today's program, is Joseph Lau, and my co-host is Kel Chen.
Hi everyone.
Okay. And we are lucky that we have experienced trustees from York region. He is Bill Crothers. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Yeah.
Nice to be here, Joseph.
Yes. Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Bill Crothers. I'm a trustee in the town of Markham as part of one of 12 trustees on the York Region District School Board. I'm also the chair of the board. I've been a trustee since the fall of 1988. I've been the chair of the board since December 1992.
Okay. Thanks for coming to our studio.
Wonderful. This is our honor to have Mr. Crothers here.
So you have some questions about Bill, right?
Oh yeah, Mr. Bill Crothers. I know that you have a wonderful experience to be a trustee. Can I know the role of trustee of the school board?
We have a number of responsibilities. Biggest single responsibility that we have is hiring the director of education and the senior staff and the board. That's the biggest. Then what we have to do is support those individuals with the resources necessary. In doing that, we have to make decisions on, in a board like York Region, the attendance boundaries. We have to make decisions on building where and when to build new schools. We make decisions as to the budget. We have to pass the budget every year. There was a time when we set a mill rate. Now we have to make decisions on how to spend the money that the provincial government gives to the board or allows the board to have. Those are the prime responsibilities, and we're a liaison between staff and the community. The other major responsibility, in a sense, the overriding one, is that we hold our staff accountable to the quality of education that they provide to the children in the community.
Wow.
Those are the main responsibilities, and we don't run the schools. We don't teach the children. We hire people to do that, and then we set standards for them, and then we hold them accountable and support them in achieving those standards.
It's a part of the team to be making decisions, right?
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Lau, I think it's a very interesting topic. I hope next time Mr. Crawford can come and share with us.
Yes.
About the trustee.
Yeah. Today we focus on the EQAO.
Good.
Yeah.
We can call Bill. Hi, Bill. Do you know EQAO? What is it stand for, and what is the purpose for it?
Well, it's the Education Quality Assurance in Ontario. It's basically an arm's length organization created by the provincial government, reporting to the provincial government, which sets examinations for all the students in the province. There are grade 3, grade 6, grade 9, and grade 10. Every grade 3 student and grade 6 student takes tests once a year over about 5 days, or in reading, writing, and mathematics. In grade 9, it's mathematics. In grade 10, it's literacy. They're designed to give the province a snapshot of where the students are in their learning, and it's also to give a snapshot to the board as to where the students, so they can adjust their instruction and their evaluation and their teaching to help the students to improve. It's a snapshot of where the students are, so they know where they need to apply work. Before they had the test, it was left up to the school boards to determine where their students were in their learning. What the province decided to do was that they wanted to have an ability to measure for that. For a couple of reasons. They wanted to hold the boards accountable, but I think the biggest reason why they continue right now is to demonstrate to the citizens and the taxpayers of Ontario that the quality of education is good, that the students are improving in their skills, and use that as the basis to justify a very, very significant part of the provincial government going to public education. And I think that's the reason why they maintain it. And it's right now, or at least for a number of years, there was a bit of a lack of confidence in how school boards were doing as far as educating the young people. And I think what the province said, if we create some of these tests, if we hold the boards accountable, we set some targets for them to reach,
Okay.
then parents and other people in the community will believe and support in the value of public education, and so when they make decisions to spend money, and they spend about 18 or 19 billion dollars a year, the province of Ontario, on education in the province, and if people are dissatisfied, then it's very difficult for the provincial government to allocate that much money to to education. If they get good results, and if they can convince people that that the children are really learning and benefiting from it, then they will support taxes. And this current government is very, very committed to putting as much money as they can into education, and believe that is the way to
That's our
to
future.
make it's the future, and it's a way to prepare students and provide equity, because you don't get any improvement. You the biggest single tool, and the developing countries are finding that out too. That the secret to improvement and to increase the standard of living, the quality of living in their countries, is through education.
Yeah.
We've got a government right now that I think is committed to that, and
But according to you,
still,
that's
it's because you're testing students. it's
before this
always
test come into
controversial.
effect, there's no standard test by the government, and then
Well,
just
if you go back long enough to when I was in school,
okay.
and I graduated from high school,
Yeah.
secondary school in 1959.
Mhm.
When I graduated from secondary school, every single grade 13 student in the province of Ontario wrote exactly the same examination at exactly the same time.
Okay.
That was what were called the departmental examinations.
Yeah.
Sometime in the mid-1970s, they stopped, and individual school boards were responsible for setting their examinations. The universities would say, well, there seems to be a difference in the results coming from different schools and different school boards, so there was no way, there didn't seem to be any consistency. There were some criticisms of the education system. So then, previous government to the one that we have now, there was a Royal Commission on Learning that was set up back in the early 1990s, and that's one of the things that they recommended, was having a testing system. And the government of the day implemented that. The current government is supporting that. So every student, every grade 3, grade 6, grade 9, grade 10 student in the province writes the test. There are exclusions for students who, for example, would be a new to the country, new to the language, but they're not required to do the test. Some special education students, very handicapped students, do not have to write the test. The number of students in the province that are excluded are roughly 5% of the students. Some boards will be higher than others, because an area like York Region, like Peel, like Toronto, will have a very high percentage of new Canadians, not only new to the country, they're new to the English language.
Yes.
So there'll be more students in those areas that don't.
Excluded, yeah.
Ultimately, in the grade 10, they have to write the literacy test. But
Do you think it's worth it? Because of course you spend a lot of money on this project. Is it already 11 years?
Well,
and what are you happy with the outcome?
I think our board is, because our board uses the test. It's because it's based upon the curriculum in the province of Ontario. It's a valid test. In other words, it's not measuring something which is not related to the curriculum that's being taught. So it's a pretty useful test to boards and to teachers as to where they need to improve, or where they need to work with the students, because they get a snapshot of the students. My suspicion and our belief is that if the EQAO results that are reported to the parent is a surprise to the parent, then there's something wrong at the school level or at the teacher level. There should never be any surprises, because the teachers are using that snapshot to gauge their instruction, and parents should already know basically where they may not know whether they're basically a level 4 or just on the fringe between a 3 and a 4. So it could be either one, or the same between a 2 and a 3.
Okay.
But a student should never bring a report card home with a 2 when the parents thought it should have been
Because I
a 4.
have just received my son's report, grade
Yeah.
6 result, And as a, for instance, I'm really happy with my son's school because they have a letter and show us how to read, how to use the report card.
Okay.
But do you want to share with the community, like how to, as a new parent, like for instance, new immigrant, or how to read the report card?
Well, there's the report card will deal with there's two parts to the EQAO test.
Okay.
There's the actual test itself, okay, and then there's a questionnaire.
Yeah.
And the questionnaire is trying to find out from the students some of their background in their home. You know, did the parents read to them? How often do they read? Things like what's going on at their like outside school. Do they like math? Do they like reading? Do they like writing? How often do they do it outside of a classroom? So that's one part of it. The examination part of it is designed, and the questions are framed in such a way to elicit different kinds of information, and the how well did the student comprehend what they were reading? Could they read it? Did they understand all the words? Measuring their ability to think. You know, they read something and ask a question about what they have read, and which will gauge whether they really understood it or whether they can think. They get a little bit of information, they ask a question which is related. Can they relate the two? So there's the thinking skills, there's the application. How can they use the language to? How can they apply it to other situations? So this will be there in the English part, the language part. So it's reading and writing, and it's also in the mathematics part. So it not only measures the whole range, but it breaks it down into the various strengths, and in the mathematics, the different strands of mathematics, how well they do. And the people who are marking it, the questions are written by teachers, and they're designed to elicit that kind of information, so they can, not only do they understand math well, can they reason it? Do they know how to multiply? Do they know how to divide? Do they know how to use the numbers? Do they know how to? They're learning not only whether they pass the test, but what parts of the curriculum have they understood? What parts of the curriculum do they need more work on? So that's a useful tool for the teachers.
Yeah, I really like
And
this
it's useful for
because
the
it's
parents
really
too.
practical.
Yeah.
Because they're not knowledgeable, it's very, implement and then application. That part is very good.
And what it also does is it provides the parent with a basis for a discussion with the teacher as to the needs of their child.
They have a common thing to talk about.
Yeah, I mean that's only one of many things. I mean when they go for parent interviews, there'll be the EQAO results, but they'll also have the work that they've been doing, and what in our board, and I've suspected in a number of other boards, now a lot of these parent-teacher interviews are involved with they're what we call student-led interviews. So the students keep a log of what they've done at various times in the year. So when they go into an interview, they can tell their parents and the teacher what they think they have done really well, and they can also articulate how they've improved and demonstrate how they've improved from September to November to February to May. They've got a record of it, and they can pull it out and say, here's what I've done. Now, it helps because now the students are involved in their own education. Shouldn't come as a surprise to the parents, but the parents can now see how their children relates to the teacher, what they're proud of, and the students themselves will know what they need to work on. It's a very, very good process, and the EQA tests are a part of that, and they're a significant part. There are other reasons why the tests are useful and why the government wants to do them, but that's from the parent and from the student perspective and the teacher perspective.
My personal really like the logical thinking for mathematics and problem solving.
Yeah, well that's...
But based on the area, we just mentioned, focus on mathematics and literature. But how about the behavior management? Because now we have an issue.
Well, yeah, but that's an issue that has to be dealt with in the classroom. That's why teachers are trained, is to deal with those things. How do you report them? You can't report things like that mathematically on a report card. And it's the same, especially when you get to secondary school. You get an examination. Well, what's the purpose of the evaluation at the end of the year? The end of the year, a report card is supposed to give an indication as to whether a student has learned the work that year and is ready to move on to the next one, because the grade 11 English course is based upon the grade 10 English course, which is based upon what you learned in grade 9 and working all the way back. So at the end of the year, what do you really want to know? You want to know whether the student has learned all the things that they were supposed to have learned and are ready to move on. There is still an element that would suggest that, well, you're giving a final mark, the mark should be a composite or an average of what they got in September, what they got in October, what they got in November, what they got in December. But the issue is not necessarily did they know that in September, the issue is did they know it in June. So is the mark that they got on a particular part of the course in September, if they didn't do it for the rest of the year, then it means something. But the job of the teacher is to make a determination that by the end of the year they had covered all the curriculum, that the students knew what to do. If they misbehaved in class, that will have an impact, could have an impact on how they behave when they finish school, could have an impact on how well they can keep a job, but it's got little to do with whether they learned or whether they knew what they were doing. So there are other issues involved in dealing with behavior and dealing with attitude towards the teacher's job now is a very, very challenging job, because not only do they have to teach the students, they have to teach them citizens.
So many violence, bullying available at school now, right?
In some areas there is, but it's still 90, 95, 98% of the students are fairly well behaved. I mean, our suspension rate, there are fewer than 2% of the students in our schools who are suspended in any 1 year.
That's why I wonder.
Not very many.
Yeah, I wonder if the school board or the Ministry of Education would like to plan ahead of the next strategy of EQAO, right? How to, based on the current statistics.
They're always altering it and changing it. And for example, the EQAO test that the students will write this year or this school year in 2008. The test that they write that year will not be the same test that they wrote 8 or 10 years ago, because a lot of things have changed. Now, what they'll be measuring, the same kinds of things. They'll be measuring thinking, they'll be measuring application, they'll be measuring how they can use the data, but the data itself will change. For example, what is important? Is it important that students remember a specific item, or they know how to find that item? With our computer technology today,
computerized now.
you can. The issue is, how do you get and how do you learn how to retrieve the information that you need? You don't have to remember something that somebody told you 10 years ago. And with the technology that's changing right now, it's so much faster. There's so much more of it.
That's true.
Just did a lecture today on the kind of technology that now, we had 25 years ago or 30 years ago was mainframe computers. Now there's laptops. Now there's iPods. Within 2 or 3 years, they'll have your computer on a watch. And you'll be able to, you've got the Blackberries now with their small keypads and that. Well, now they've actually got the technology where they can make them smaller, and you can have coming out of the thing, showing down on the table is a keyboard, and you can actually type on a make-believe keyboard, and also what you type can be shown on a bigger screen, so it helps those of us who wear glasses and can't see quite as well.
So it's a more challenge for the teacher.
And so the issue is, how do you adapt your education system, and how do you adapt the training and the teaching of students to reflect that, because it's a reality that's coming.
That's true.
So the issue now isn't the same as it was 25 years ago. How much do you remember, or because it came from a book or you had to look it up. Now the kids take a computer to ask a question and type it in there, and a minute later they got 15 answers from 15 different sources. So, so the issue now is, how do you find the information? How do you interpret the data? And how do you apply the data? Problem solving.
It's not like just memorizing it. So
it's not.
Just now Bill said he's happy with the outcome of the DQAO for the job return to school board. But you know what, Joseph? I heard just a few months ago that the media have internet across the world, right? they highlight the result of the EQAO is kind of measure to rate the school quality.
Okay.
It's a famous school because of the top and like
It's
this.
It's grading system.
Yes, grading
Okay.
system.
Yeah.
Is it fair?
No,
Or-
not really. The provincial government, first of all, produces data in two forms. One is based upon all the students in the school,
Okay.
and that's what they call Method 1, which is reasonable from a provincial perspective because they want to know how all the students in the system, how many are learning, or what the percentage of their students
Yeah,
are
it's a curve,
at a
right,
certain
yeah.
level, and they set a target and they want to try to get to that target. At a school board level, there are a certain number of students, and province-wide it's maybe about 5% who don't take the test.
Okay.
So the second measure is of all the students who took the test, how did they do? And there are some pretty strict criteria
I see.
on not taking the test. So from a school board, because not all school boards have the same percentage, so if you've got 8% of your students who are brand new Canadians and have not had any,
Yeah.
1 or 2 years of English, or you've got some very, very severely disabled, communications disabled students in your board, then if you've got 8%, then you're really only out of 92% is the maximum you can possibly get of everybody who wrote the test
That's
back.
true. Yeah.
But if you're taking just considering the 92%, from an individual board, that's a more realistic measure. What people then tend to want is look at the results without recognizing that not every student comes to school with the same tools and has the same background.
Yeah.
And so the normal sociological factors that exist in a community can have a significant relevance. If you've got a child and both parents in the home, as an example, have a university education,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of communication, a lot of reading, a lot of that kind of discussion goes on in the home, that student is a little bit better prepared for school and for the test than the student who has grown up in poverty with a single parent, limited education,
Yeah.
and therefore limited incentive, and parents didn't read to them when they were, 2, grade 1, or at least 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and encouraging the children to take an interest in books, so their language skills aren't as developed. The real test of the EQAO, if parents want to know how good the school is, look at the pattern of the results over time, and look at it in the context of the community in which they live. And if their own children are improving, that's a good sign, because that means there's quality teaching going on. And the quality teaching, the quality of teaching can be just as good in a school where 60% of the students are at level 3 or 4 as it is in a school where they're 90%, because the kids are different in those schools. And what the interest is, what's the quality of education that's going on in the school? How good are the teachers? How supportive are they? And then the question is, how can I help the teachers to do their job? Because it's a community job, it's a joint job, it's not just the teacher's job. I'm part of it.
That's why, just a joking.
Yeah.
Today I have a news that mentioned that some area, one of the schools is very famous. That's why a lot of people would like to move over
To
there.
that area.
Yeah, the area. That's why the realistic, market from that area raise up 50%.
Okay.
So it's,
No,
it's
we have
enhanced.
pockets. Most boards will have pockets in the thing where you can look at the results, but you can usually predict the range of the results from the demographics in the community.
Okay.
But based on the
We know that, and
Yeah.
I think the parents basically know that as well. And it's how the
based on
skill-
the current result, like for the elementary system, like for level 4 is only like for mathematics the highest 9%, and the English is reading and writing is a lower 6%. So do you have a worry about the private school will take away replace the public education, because right now they really
No, they-
aggressively promoted.
Yeah, I don't think so, because school boards like mine, like the York Region District School Board, our results are very, very good. I mean,
York
we're as
Region
good
is
as
good.
anything, and yet we've got we've got pockets with poverty.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a very, very high percentage of our students are new Canadians, and not new Canadians from countries where English is their first language.
Mm-hmm.
Countries where English is not their first
not
language. We've got
yeah.
something like 12,500 students in our school where Chinese is the language that's spoken in the home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not when they came.
when-
Now it's still the language that's spoken in their home,
Okay.
and that's somewhere around 12 or 13% of our students. That's just one language group.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that. The private schools, about 5% of the students in the province of Ontario are educated in private schools. The private schools fall into basically two categories.
Mm-hmm.
There's the so-called elite private schools, and then there's the religion-based
Okay.
schools.
Mhm.
The religion-based schools are they're generally, the tuition is a lot lower than what it is in the higher ones. Our schools, what separates some of the private schools and where they may not like it, and if they were to get provincial support, they would probably be required to start doing some of these testing. What you would find is that most school boards in the province will have schools which will score as high or higher than any of the private schools if they were writing these same kind of tests.
Mm-hmm.
There are some very, very elite schools in which the criteria for getting in is pretty difficult, but you have that at the university level. One of the highest ranked universities in the world is Harvard University, and they make the claim that that 89% of their students graduate with a degree within 4 years, 92% graduate within 5 years, and 97% of the students who enter first year graduate with a degree within 6 years, the highest of any in the world. The issue is getting into the school, and you have to have a certain academic standard to get into the school.
Yeah.
So that's what defines the thing, not the quality of teaching. The quality of teaching is very good, but what defines it is how the qualities are what you have to get into the school. So if you've got a private school where the entrance requirements are very, very stringent and tight, and there are no special education or no special needs students, then you would expect the results to be better. Having said that, there's no private school in Ontario that we don't have schools in our system, for example, that would not score as high academically as they would. There are various reasons why parents choose, and some of those reasons are very, very valid. For choosing to go to a form of a private school, and maybe because of a particular program, and maybe because of there may be a whole lot of or a whole range of ideas, and it may be because of their religious beliefs. But it's only about 5% of the students. The balance of them are in the public system, and better than 60% in the English public system. 30-35% in the English Catholic system, and then another 5 to 8% are in that range in the French, both public and Catholic system. So, but that's 95% of the students. There's a very small number that are homeschooled. But,
Of course, I highly recommend everyone enjoy the public education. Right? This is our
system.
privileges.
Okay. So actually, time flies. So you have the last question. So Bill, you have any?
Do you have a good question, last one?
Basically, then, what do you see that Ontario education system is a good one compared to one in the world?
It's as good as any system. Now there are always things that we can do better, and there are areas where the Alberta system and the B system or British Columbia system has some advantages over our system. There are areas where the Ontario program is better than their one. The other countries in the world, probably on most of the international test to finish system, ranks the highest. But the Canadian and the Ontario system in particular are always in the top 4, 5, 6 countries in the world. And what's happening now is that while we go and look at some of the other countries and say, what are you doing that produces some great results, they're also coming to our country and say, what are you doing? For example, the Oriental countries like Japan, China, Korea, we say they do very, very well in some of these tests, particularly in the mathematics area.
That's true. Yeah.
Mhm.
They say they want to come to our system and they want to know, because they see the results are good, but they say your students are having fun and they're creative.
That's true.
Mhm.
That's
Why
important.
is that the case? And they want to learn why. So
Yeah.
everybody is trying to get better, and everybody is looking at individual things that other countries, the education systems, are doing better than what they perceive they're doing, but they're all trying to improve, and that's a good sign. And we have a lot of people from a lot of countries, a lot of teachers, a lot of delegations come in to look at our schools. We also have groups of our teachers that go into other countries to look at other school systems, and there are 5 of us from our school board, 27 from 6 school boards in the Greater Toronto area who just came back from 10 days in China, looking at some of their
Wow.
schools.
Good.
Wonderful.
We have right now, we have 40 at a conference that's going on right now. We have 40 teachers from Great Britain. We have 6 from the Netherlands. We have 7 from Finland. Looking,
Good.
and they're coming to the company. They're all looking at our schools because they want to see
Good.
individual areas or things that we're doing that they think might help them to make their system better.
Yeah, we should be proud to have a system like this.
We have.
You know, today we are lucky to have Mr. Crawford here, but can you please give me some advice as a parent, as a teacher, as a student, how to face the challenge of the EQAO? What's a positive attitude?
Well, the issue is it's only one test, it's only one thing. If the students know their work, if the teachers have been teaching, there's no special preparation, because the tests that they're getting are based upon what they're being taught in the classroom. And there will always be students who get nervous. There'll always be students who
Sit down for the test. You know.
I used to be an athlete. Okay, I ran track and field, did a lot of competitions. I got nervous before every single race. My attitude was, if I didn't get nervous, then I was worried.
This should be a routine, right?
Yeah, and it's the kids, the students now. By the time they finish high school, they've gone through them in grade 3. They've gone through them in grade 6. They've gone through them in grade 9. They've gone through them in grade 10. And like every new challenge that we get nervous about something new. Then you start to think about it. Well, why would I get so worried about it? Because there've been 100,000 people. There's been 500,000 people who've gone through it before I did, and they seem to survive it okay. Parents will. And, the kids enjoy them. The kids have fun usually, and it's a snapshot to help the teachers and to help the parents and help them communicate.
Yeah. I think we have a wonderful experience with Mr. Crawford here,
Yeah.
right?
Thanks, Bill. Coming
Yeah.
to our
Thank you
our
so
studio.
much,
Yeah.
Mr.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah.
It's
Look
been a
forward to
pleasure.
seeing you again
I
for
hope so.
next topic.
Yeah.
I hope
About
so.
about education again. So.
Oh, I have so many topics in my mind.
Mhm.
I hope,
Yeah.
not too long, and then I will meet you again.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so this is our first session of the education insight. We're glad to have Bill, and then Kel has done a lot of homework. All right, so let's get tuned in. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Crawford. Yeah. So you're very informative.
Oh,
Yeah, because we seldom talk about EQAO, but you know what? The Chinese